This character was easily one of Smash's most requested characters for their time period, although their addition in Smash would feel like a long shot. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the unthinkable would happen. Not only would Snake be revealed as a fighter for Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but later on Sonic would as well, being the first third-party characters in Smash. And the whole world would rejoice. One of the many of third-party characters that have been in Smash's lineup. It's speculated that Sonic was actually one of the last-minute inclusions in the game, and you can tell by their placement in the Subspace Emissary, for example, not being a part of the main story at all until the very end. Even Snake is part of the main story, but somehow Sonic really isn't. Or even his placement on Brawl's records being one of the last characters even here, just kind of weird. If you look at his moveset, even at the time, people like to commonly make fun of the lack of originality. The fact that a majority of Sonic's moves are him balling up, and that's really it. Heck, even I've made plenty of videos in the past going over this. Look where he is now. He's easily seen as a staple of Smash Ultimate's meta, but definitely not in a positive way, at least these days. For a lot of people, the purpose of this video is to show how Sonic's moveset has truly changed since his very first appearance all the way to where we are today. That's really what has made me want to make this video, is Sonic's placement on the most recent Smash Ultimate tier list. His keep away camping playstyle existed all the way back in Brawl, actually, so you're definitely gonna want to stay tuned. The thing about Brawl Sonic is he is the foundation for what the character is going to be in future Smash games, and I'm not just saying that just to say that, it is legitimately the truth. I don't blame the devs for making a lot of the mistakes of the character really early on, because many people speculate that Sonic was a rushed last-minute inclusion. Many of his special moves and smash attacks, aerials, even his grab animations are just him balling up. And this makes Sonic's moves feel less original and kind of samey. He's not even that strong as he is in future Smash games. His archetype is leaning more into this hit and run style playstyle. It doesn't really meld well with Brawl's, Brawl engine. If you play Brawl, you know what is really good in this game, and really weak characters are just not good in Brawl. His moves don't do a major amount of damage, he doesn't have a lot of range on them either, so in order to gain percent, Sonic is going to have to run in and approach. Well, he doesn't really have a strong punish game, so that's not really a good option for him. His moves don't really do a lot of knockback either, so he kind of has to play keep away and try to, get a lead and try to hold it as long as possible, because he is actually very fast. Fun fact, Sonic's moves are actually sharing a lot of Sonic Battle and Sonic Fighters, which I feel they could have dipped more into these inspirations a little bit more, making some of these moves a bit more iconic, maybe more unique. It's kind of lame that a lot of these ideas I feel like could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but if you want to know where they came from, that's where they came from. Let's look at his smash attacks. They absolutely are crippling as far as damage potential and KO power goes. They are some of Sonic's few potential KO tools in the game, and even these tools aren't even that good. It kind of sucks. Even his special moves. If you know how strong these moves become in future Smash games, you might be surprised with how weak they are. They're really risky to do, like neutral special, for example. Down special and side special are both balling up moves, and they're pretty weak tools. Although Sonic Spin Dash can allow Sonic to combo into aerials. And speaking of his aerials, I absolutely hate how uninspired these aerials truly are stylistically. Not only is Nair reusing the same balling up animation, but even his forward air, I don't understand what this, it does have a cool ability to rack up damage, but it just is a really uninspired animation. I've never really liked it. Usually when people make mods of Sonic, they usually actually change this move first. I find it really funny how every single Smash mod I've seen of Sonic, even Project M, they always change his forward air. It's one of the first moves that always just gets removed. But that's besides the point. In Brawl, his throws are pretty mediocre, and in future Smash games, they will actually become much more developed, especially his back throw. But in this game, these throws are definitely pretty weak. There are some possible follow-ups he can do. Yes, there are throws, like, his up throw more specifically, he can do some follow-ups. I wouldn't say they're unusable, but they're definitely not really doing that much as far as throws go. His tilts are rather basic, although his down tilt pushes him forward in this game. This is the only time this move does this, so it's cool, right? Despite me kind of ragging on Sonic's KO power, he is literally the fastest character in the game. Now, this playstyle that developed all the way back during Brawl is part of the reason why the character low-key becomes a dominant character in future Smash games. His ability to outrun most of the cast. Meaning, even though he is really weak, he could actually play more defensively and run the clock. This strategy even existed in Brawl, and you can see Sonic mains doing this all the way back then. In Brawl, yes, of all games. Sonic's recovery is also very difficult to try to intercept and edge guard, so this has led to him being able to run back on stage and run away, get back on stage pretty easily, with his up special being a very strong recovery tool, and he can even act out of this move. This sort of gives Sonic a very iconic combo pretty much every single iteration the character has, which is up special into up air. And because of his speed, Sonic can edge guard effectively at times because of his back air. His dash attack is also a long-lasting move in this game, and you can catch opponents off guard with it. Sonic can also cancel his side special and down special with shield, and this is a very, very strong tool. This is actually one of the strongest aspects of these moves, is to fake out approaches. And because of how fast he is, this will sometimes work in his favor, because Sonic's moveset leans into him being a bait and punish character, looking for the opponent to mess up so Sonic can run in and quickly get the opportunity. He's not doing him a lot of damage, he's not getting KOs early, he's really working for it. So this is why he was seen as one of the lower tiered characters early on, because his kit was pretty much run away, bait and punish, run the clock. Didn't really get figured out in Brawl's early meta until much later people started to realize the strengths of the character. He is currently ranked at 22nd place, which is basically the low end of the mid tier. He's just good enough to be out of the low tier. Although he does have some potential in some people's eyes, just wait until the next Smash game. He's just good enough to not be a low tier. Although some people believe he actually has potential if he was developed further, I say to those people, just wait until the next Smash game, because he's definitely going to prove he has potential. Now, it's pretty obvious Sonic was kind of mediocre in Brawl. I'm sure we can all agree with that. So unlike some characters who remain as low tiers indefinitely, Ganondorf, I'm looking at you. Sonic was actually given the proper treatment when it came to balancing the character, which is actually kind of surprising. He definitely was buffed in Smash 4 correctly, but how much better is the character? They thankfully gave him KO power, a major buff to him, like his back throw, for example, being turned into a premier KO throw. Yes, they gave Sonic a Ness back throw. What are we doing? No, I'm kidding. His moveset in general got major overhauls, like down smash becoming a unique animation. Thank you, Sakurai, for this. And if only they did that to the rest of Sonic's, bally gut moves, but hey, we can't be too greedy, I guess. I know they'll never change forward air. Even his dash attack has changed its animation a bit. They did kind of nerf this move as it has more end lag, and it covers less distance. Its startup was even increased as well. They did nerf some parts of them pretty hard. However, it should be noted that his dash attack was changed heavily enough, so it's actually better for tech chasing, some people would debate. Down air can actually meteor smash now on the clean hit of the move, which is insane, and his special moves have definitely been heavily buffed, like spin dash can be held during jump, and spin charge deals more damage with a more consistent hitbox. This is actually the first time that home attack would be buffed massively, and this will be the start of this move leaning into having more knockback and actually being better for KOing because of its improved accuracy and less end lag. Neutral air and up throw got their hitboxes tweaked, and however they also nerfed Sonic at the same time, nerfing the distance on up special. The move's intangibility comes out later, and Sonic is even slower than the Brawl iteration, making a lot of his moves laggier, and their hitbox duration has definitely been toned down, like for example on his smash attacks. You can also no longer spam neutral B without touching the ground, so that should be interesting to note. However, the toned down speed and hit duration was actually a solid trade because Sonic actually for once has the ability to KO. They fixed one of the major problems of Sonic in the past and toned down his speed as a trade-off. So surprise, surprise, they actually made Sonic into a very solid character in Smash 4. Thank you very much, Sakurai. They would nerf things like Sonic's back throws KO power and updates, and nerfing his KO potential on forward smash and up smash, and then down air also got its end lag reverted to the Brawl version. Sonic actually benefited from the shield stun changes where non-projectile attacks dealt more shield stun. And despite the nerfs, Sonic was definitely given massive amounts of buffs to offset the nerfs that the character got. The nerfs during the balance patches definitely toned down his KO power, but they didn't really stop him from being a top level character in Smash 4. So even early on in Smash 4's meta, they realized, wow, the buffs are actually definitely improving his character here. He essentially had his biggest problem in Brawl fixed. Like, how often does that happen? In turn, they did nerf his defensive play when it comes to camping, like his Brawl tech, like being able to shield during side special. And the new back throw is a great addition, along with the more powerful KO tools. All the way back during Smash 4's very first tier list, Sonic has actually been pretty much in the same spots the whole time. Being ranked at 6 very early on, sometimes being in the S or A tier depending on the tier list, and being ranked at 5th at his highest placement. But even after the balance patches, Sonic ended up being at 7th, which goes to show how strong he truly is in this game. Many top players were actually playing the character and even speculated that if Smash 4's meta got continued and developed further, Sonic could actually go even higher. That's how well received he was. While others think he was overhyped and maybe he had some bad matchups against certain characters like Bayonetta, I mean, we'll never know, the game kinda died. Despite all this, Sonic was amazing. He seems like a staple top tier character to high tier character. We don't need to buff him, right guys? He's so good. We could just leave Sonic, oh god, here we go. A big reason I chose to do this video was to actually deeply discuss the Smash Ultimate iteration. On the first ever Ultimate tier list, Sonic was ranked at 4th, but on the brand new most recent tier list, Sonic has went up a couple spots, earned his spot right behind Steve in the S+ tier, the only 2 characters in this tier in Ultimate. Now I'm assuming the only reason these 2 characters are by themselves has to do with just how centralized these characters became more recently, especially at a lot of top 8s and grand finals of recent tournaments. This is literally the first time he's ever been this high on a tier list, so I definitely want to show you guys why. To be frank, I had to double take. I won't lie, when it comes to looking at Smash Ultimate's meta, people like to complain about a lot of things. You know, 1 month people are complaining about Kazuya, and then now it's this character, it's that character. I was like, okay, we'll just see how things go. Maybe this will be like another situation where people complain about Sonic and then they move on. That really isn't the case. People never really chilled out about Sonic. Now, an actual contender for one of the best characters in the game behind Steve, how has he been here when in Brawl he wasn't even problematic back then, but now he's somehow more problematic? Sonic's moveset in its current form is definitely stronger than a lot of people like to say it is. This isn't really a weak version of the character like he was in Brawl, where he was more dependent on running away. He actually has some beef to his attacks. He can easily edgeguard opponents, and if you try to contest his recovery off stage, his moveset in general is just really strong in Ultimate. You can't really talk about Sonic without talking about his balling up moves. His special moves are at their strongest in Ultimate. This type of playstyle not helping Ultimate's viewership, and the fact that Ultimate's grand finals are more commonly ending with people not actually wanting to watch Sonic, which is definitely a really interesting thing to see. A lot of grand final sets, if they have Sonic in them, are actually watched less than the other sets that aren't grand finals. Definitely hurting the competitive scene in some areas. Seriously, some of the moves that I made fun of in the past for lacking originality are now part of the reason why the character is so good in Ultimate. And Sonic can use his now much stronger neutral B. Yes, neutral B is a strong tool in this game. And Sonic can just keep holding the move down, and then the stronger it will become. In the past, this move was really weak and really inaccurate, and now they really beefed up the move, and they actually allowed it to hit more consistently, which is definitely a fine buff. However, it promotes a lot of camping, having a much faster startup and less end lag, and his down tilt became a great tool for launching in Sonic's kit, and even his smash attacks are even stronger than they were in Smash 4. And this is something that Sonic was not really known for having in the past. Spin dash can now be jump canceled, and what is this, Project M now? Up special was made into a longer recovery tool, and Sonic's up air is now an easier KO tool, and because Ultimate is a faster paced engine, this is actually going to benefit Sonic because of his already hit and run playstyle. Having increased mobility means he's actually a little bit faster in some ways. He was given a mix of buffs and nerfs from Smash 4, but he is pretty much overshadowing the nerfs heavily. His laggier moves in Smash 4 were made faster, and they made him way more offensive. Aerials having all around less lag on all of them. F tilt has increased knockback, up tilt has less startup, and on top of all that, spin dash and spin charge are stronger than they were before. You have mostly a entirely buffed moveset, and that's kind of a recipe for a good character right there. They did nerf his weight, going from 94 to 86, and they made his rolls and spot dodge less safe with higher amounts of startup and end lag, His first jab in this game is also a great tool for skirmishes and even jab locking, making them have more startup and end lag and giving them range nerfs. And then nerfing up throw's combo potential by making it have more end lag. But they did make forward throw have a changed angle, definitely is a stronger tool for edge guarding. And heck, I can understand the developers thinking that nerfing his weight is actually going to be a nice trade-off, and making his grabs less easy to confirm with is definitely going to compensate for his more aggressive playstyle this time around. But this doesn't really stop Sonic from being Sonic, I guess. They even nerfed an amazing option for the character that he had in Smash 4, which was holding down side B and down B indefinitely. You can imagine that being in Smash Ultimate, it would definitely make him even more campy, and I'm sure you guys would probably dislike him even more if he had that. Also, they made it so that spin charge and spin dash are beat by simply holding shield and limiting their ability to cross up the opponents. These moves are still really strong tools even after the options being taken away from them. Yeah, sure, they're less safe on shield, but they are definitely still strong tools, and they gave them some damage buffs. It's funny how campy people like to call Sonic in Smash Ultimate, but for real, they actually did attempt to tone down some of his aspects of his defensive play that were definitely prevalent in Smash 4. But again, you could say these nerfs are, simply just not enough and didn't stop Sonic as a whole. Hey, this is just making a better character who cares that he's more aggressive. Sure, he's more glassy, but once Sonic gets in, his camping is gonna make him more egregious because his punish game is just better in this game. If you're waiting for your opponent to mess up by holding the other side of stage, once your opponent messes up, Sonic's punish game is essentially going to be more devastating in this game. His bait and punish moveset is essentially more rewarding this time around. Sure, he has to watch his back because, yeah, he's lighter than before, but this is Sonic we're talking about. He is the fastest character in the game. And the fact that he's even faster than what he was before thanks to Ultimate's mobility increases. So I hope this is starting to add up on why a lot of people are hating Sonic right now. He just seems a little bit overtuned in a lot of areas. His playstyle is sort of playing into the darker side of Ultimate's meta right now, where we got a playstyle of Steve placing blocks and setting up one side of the stage, and then Sonic just, holding his spinning animation, just balling up, baby. Even during the balance patches, Sonic was pretty much given buffs after buff after buff, like improving the consistency on F-tilt, giving back air less lag. And Sonic's shield size even got buffed. Up tilt and dash attack got significantly less end lag. Yay, up smash was given less lag. Up air was given another hitbox, making the move more consistent, and up smash was given more frames of intangibility with less startup, even more KO power on top of this. Sonic even walks and dashes faster, even his initial dash being buffed and having a much higher traction, which makes him harder to punish out of shield. They buffed Sonic, okay. But when Ultimate came out, everyone was saying that they nerfed Sonic. It was actually the exact opposite. People underestimated how much KO power buff Sonic was given in Ultimate, which made him even more of a beast later on. His hit and run playstyle was still a part of his archetype. It just needed people to figure this side of the character out, thus led to people timing out with Sonic, which was ironically something that I stated earlier started as early as Brawl. It was still part of his archetype, it just needed people to figure out this side of the character, and thus this led into more people timing out with Sonic, which ironically, as we stated earlier, this started all the way back in Brawl. And this became a more viable option for the character the more he grew throughout Smash, and it became more viable than ever in Ultimate. And this is why you will commonly see sets end in timeouts more than you saw it before. His ability to punish in this game was never really fully utilized in past versions of the character, so that explains why he's so devastating now. Several Ultimate players think Sonic is the best character in the game. Some people think he actually can counter Steve, and people predict over time Sonic could actually potentially run the meta. Also, we kinda have a darker period of the game right now where defensive play has been more and more prominent than ever, and that started to hurt the viewership of the game, especially if they have Sonic or Steve in them, or it's a Sonic Ditto or whatever. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Sonic come up in Ultimate, I wasn't really surprised, but I think Sonic's archetype, when they buffed it to make his moveset way stronger, I think Sonic's archetype when buffed is always going to become strong. Sort of Fox or Pikachu that fills this niche in past Smash games, but no, it's Sonic in Ultimate. If we look all the way back in Brawl, Sonic could not kill at all in this game, and his life just depended on him running away. But of course, he did have a strong defensive game because of his extreme speed and ability to play keep away. They would actually fix his terrible KO power in future games, little by little, and then eventually the buffs would take him to where he is right now. What's funny is because Sonic is already so fast and defensive, when you make him even stronger, have more KO options, it's like, yeah, no duh, this character is going to become very good. You fix the major problem of his character, maybe a little too much, because buffing his offensive game also buffs his defensive game. So yeah, Sonic is very good, no duh. This is why he was at second place in Ultimate's tier list recently. Now, Sonic in Brawl is easily the worst version of the character, initially being seen as a low tier. But as the years went by, people began to optimize Sonic's ability to camp and run the clock. This type of keep away play would actually optimize Sonic's moveset, and he would rise higher in Brawl's tier list. And this low-key would be a big part of Sonic's competitive playstyle in future Smash games. Though I'm going to put this last here because it is technically the worst version of Sonic. He is pretty bad in this game. He just isn't strong enough, and his KO power is very weak in this game. And in Brawl, having KO power is a very big thing. Smash 4 Sonic was the beginning of Sonic actually becoming a top tier character. This version of the character maybe doesn't have the same peaks as the Smash Ultimate version. However, he was still really good in this game. The buffs definitely helped him a lot. This is a very strong version of the character, no less, being given plenty of KO power buffs like to his back throw, stronger smash attacks, and even stronger options to camp with. They did tone down, his speed in this game, and they made his moveset harder to hit with, but it was a solid trade-off, and you could see in his tier list placement that it definitely worked out for him. So in Smash 4, they technically fixed his major problems of the Brawl version. They just didn't really go overboard with it. However, if you don't like Sonic in Smash Ultimate, look at the Smash 4 version, because a lot of the quote-unquote campy, problematic aspects of the character kind of existed back then too. I think some of Sonic's more problematic aspects began in Smash 4's meta. Bayonetta and Cloud running around the meta definitely overshadowed that. It's just an interesting thought experiment to maybe imagine if Smash 4's meta was pushed further, where would this version of Sonic potentially go? He ended up at 7th place, but this is obviously the second best version of the character by far. The best version of the character is obviously the Ultimate version, hands down. At 2nd place on the most recent tier list behind Steve. This is a super realized version of the previous incarnations of the character. He is the strongest version of Sonic, literally. To be real, I understand them trying to fix Sonic in some ways to make him stronger, but they made him way faster, which is of course going to make him better at camping. It's like, yeah, finally we have a version of Sonic that's in the S tier. It wasn't until the meta matured to where it is today where Sonic truly became the top level character, so he's definitely amazing. And if there's another update, I'm sure people would love if they respectfully nerfed this version of the character. He is what he is. I've made this opinion in videos in the past, but I feel like Sonic's moves are generally more uninspired from an animation standpoint. Hey, let's remove some of these older balling up animations and maybe put some more inspiration in his moveset, like, Ultimate Ganondorf kind of got when they gave him a sword. Sonic's moves would definitely be better if they were toned down and the camping aspects and defensive aspects were maybe stripped away in some areas. I might get some hate for that, but hot take coming. I wouldn't mind if they even completely replace either his side special or down special. They don't have to replace both of these moves, but if they just took away one of them or maybe put them together as one singular move, I actually think people might be okay with that. They're really strong when used together, and they also look almost exactly the same visually, and I mean, for a casual standpoint, I'm sure a lot of them don't know the difference between these two moves. It sort of plagues Sonic's moveset to this day. If Sonic returns in the next Smash game, I would definitely be cool with them spicing up his moveset a little bit. Thank you guys for watching the video. Seriously, I appreciate you guys. There's a Patreon down below if you guys want to get videos early, and you'll get access to the Honest Content Discord. Watch this video over here if you want to see a video on Brawl's low tier characters. Take care, peace, have a good one.